Hi, the topic of my article is association between eating patterns and obesity in a free living adult population. Scientists performed this study to assess the relation between eating patterns and obesity. Obesity in the United States has increased considerably in the last 2 decades, particularly in relation to other countries. National surveys in the United States sanction that the growth of obesity has occurred over a short period of time. Recent data from a behavioral risk factor surveillance system show that 19.8% of U.S. adults are obese, and their body mass index is above normal, which is a 61% increase of U.S. adults, since 1991. Obesity can be a precursor to several major health problems, such as diabetes mellitus, coronary heart disease, and/or irregular breathing patterns. Scientists tested the theory that the people who change their dietary habits and physical activity for a healthier lifestyle have a much lower chance of becoming obese. Research that was previously done showed that the weight is contingent upon energy balance, which is the relationship between energy intake and energy expenditure. Several characteristics of dietary behavior, such as eating frequency, skipping breakfast, frequency of eating meals away from home, and the temporal distribution of eating events across the day may influence body weight. Testing people's blood lipids during seasonal changes may also be a contributing factor to diet and exercise. Cross-sectional data from this testing of blood lipids were used to evaluate the relationship between eating patterns and obesity, while controlling for the effects of physical activity and energy intake. Subject recruitment, study design, cross-section analysis, repeated measures model, and statistical analysis were techniques used in this study. The major results were taken from 499 subjects out of 5,000 that were contacted to participate in the study. There are two table graphs that were presented in the study that supported the hypotheses. Table 1 presents the risk of obesity according to a participant's distinct traits. Higher education was notably associated with the risk of obesity even after observing for total energy intake and physical activity. And in Table 2, the number of eating incidences were connected with the risk of obesity. Subjects who told of 3 or less eating episodes per day versus subjects who reported 4 or more eating episodes per day faced a 45% lower risk of obesity. Skipping breakfast was accompanied by a substantial higher risk of obesity. The National Weight Control Registry proposes that eating breakfast is an attribute common to successful weight loss. Individuals who do not eat earlier in the day are inclined to be hungrier later on and eat a larger number of calories during the evening hours than people who eat constantly throughout the day. Profound energy ingestion may result in larger fat storage and may be one of the factors to increase in body weight. Continuing on with results were people eating breakfast and dinner away from home had more than twice the risk of obesity. However, lunch that was consumed away from the home was linked with a decreased risk of obesity. The temporal distribution of eating events across the day was not associated with obesity. Examination was also done on the association between eating patterns and being overweight, which is what this study is all about. The link between eating patterns and being overweight is fundamentally the same as for obesity results. However, some results were inaccurate and in many cases no longer statistically important. Eating multiple small meals may subdue hunger and overall serum concentrations Insulin inhibits lipase enzyme activity and increases fat deposition. Since insulin is related to fatty acid storage, eating meals more often may be one of the factors that affect body weight. Future studies on this issue of eating patterns and obesity will always need further studies in the future, since people's eating habits will change, especially as they age, and the next generation will have different eating habits as well. The results supported the hypothesis, since eating habits of human beings and obesity can go hand in hand. If most human beings eat poorly, don't exercise, and live a sedentary lifestyle, obesity is a definite possibility in their lives. I had originally chosen an article on Ebola. However, it wasn't a recent study and the information would not have been sufficient enough to fulfill the assignment. I reached out to my kind, most helpful teacher, Professor Flores, and asked her for help. I told her that I exhausted my search and that I needed help finding an article that had a study within it. Professor Flores sent me an amazing article that I can relate to and that I found extremely interesting. I found the article a little difficult to understand, especially with all the statistic factors. However, after I read it a few times, the study started to make sense. Weight and food can be an eat to live or live to eat combination. Living to eat is a dangerous combination since it can lead to extreme obesity. This article really hits home with me since I come from an ancestry of hefty Jewish Polish women. After my third pregnancy, I was about 50 pounds overweight for years. I finally had my Oprah aha moment as I was looking in the mirror one day at 5 feet and 160 pounds. I realized that being a size 12 was not healthy for me anymore, and I had to do something about it. I started eating whole wheat, whole grains, protein and veggies in a proper portion size. And months later, I saw the pounds melting away. I was so proud of myself, and after 8 months, I had lost almost 40 pounds. My organs were much happier. I had much more energy, and I was lighter on my feet. It was a wonderful feeling. I changed my eating habits and had realized that I didn't want to become obese, although I was already en route. I made a lifestyle change forever. Thank you.